As a deer hunter, I want to know all I can about America's favorite big game animal. That's why I became a deer farmer. Without deer farms, we lose our greatest resource for research and whitetail management. With them, we gain more knowledge than ever before. Join me as we discover the truth about whitetails and meet those who work every day to preserve this great species for future generations. My name is Keith Warren, and this is Deer and Wildlife Stories. Deer farming, well, deer farming is a lot of fun, but it's also a serious business. So just like any business, you have to pick the location that you want to do your business. Well, the people in Florida are really blessed because, in my opinion, the Florida market is an emerging market for the deer industry. The reason why, in many states, the deer farming industry has been around a long time and the market is mature. But in the state of Florida, this is an emerging market because there's not enough deer to go around. Thanks to the distribution of our show, it's seen all over the country by people that are interested in deer farming. And Florida, well, it's a sunshine state. I mean, there's a lot of people up north that are watching the show that may be close to retirement or thinking about relocating down to a warmer climate to the sunshine state. And if you're interested in deer farming and you're looking for something to do, say in your retirement years or a new business down south, I cannot think of a better business for you than deer farming.
I'm Mike Mansfield with High Xpectations Whitetails. We're located in the tropical climate of South Florida. I've been deer farming for about 10 years now, 5 years here in South Florida, and we have about 120 head of deer. We started out with Texas genetics because of the latitude of the deer that were born out there, the toughness of the animal, moved them down here to the tropics and have been very successful with it. The reason that people that have high fence, you know, their own private land, and they would want these type of deer, the genetics that we breed, is survivability, of course, but also, you know, that trophy deer. There's not many trophy deer in Florida. There's not a lot of big deer in Florida, and this is a way to have your private lands for your family, the safety matter and everything else, but we can put these deer in there and they're gonna grow big deer. We don't just breed them to shoot them. We don't just breed them to ship them to the trophy market. These are our deer. They're our pets, they're our animals. We love them. The people that are going to buy these deer are going to love these animals. They're going to watch them. They're going to take care of them. They're going to not mess with them. We breed with Texas genetics for increased survivability of the deer. We feel it's better for the deer. It's better for the farm. It's better for the business plan. It's just better all around.
Becoming a deer farmer has never been easier because right now we're going to set somebody up in a deer farm absolutely free. If you want to win a chance to become a deer farmer, go to winadeerfarm.com, find out the details. It's absolutely free, and good luck. Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by the North American Deer Farmers Association, New Dart, the North American Deer Registry, Beam Fence Company, winadeerfarm.com, the Texas Deer Association, Newport Laboratories, Game Management Systems, Shock Effect Maximizer and SeaCal, Deer Guardian Misting Systems, BuyMyDeer.com, Dr. Ray Favero's Whitetail Genetics, and by Record Rack Deer Feeds. Closed captioning for Deer and Wildlife Stories with Keith Warren is brought to you by Keith Warren's Texas Hidden Springs Ranch. Well, Mike, I am, every time I come out here, I am amazed at the size of your pens, especially this buck pen right here. I mean, how many acres is it?
Keith, that buck pen's right at about 2.5 to 3 acres, and plenty of shade in there. They love that buck pen.
I mean, I'm looking at it as far as the habitat is perfect. I mean, you got a lot of shade, and I know you got the shade cloth up around it, but I mean, the bucks, most deer farms wind up having their bucks separated as far as age classes go. You know, they'll have their 3-year-olds in one, 2-year-olds in one, and 1-year-olds, but it looks to me from just glancing, these are all different age classes, right?
There's yearlings, 2-year-olds, and 3-year-olds in this pen.
Okay, now I'm looking at this yellow 24 right here. I mean, is he a yearling?
He's a yearling. All the yellow tags in here are yearlings.
Is that right?
Yep. Yep.
Oh my goodness. Now, folks, as you're looking at these deer, I'm going to point something out that Florida, the borders were closed in Florida as far as importing deer. How many years ago?
About 1.5 years now.
Okay, and what happened is before the borders closed, Mike wound up bringing deer in, and these are Texas genetics.
Texas genetics, on the doe side.
Yeah, and so what happened is that, that was a smart move, because once the borders shut down, nobody's able to bring in any genetics in here at all, any live deer at all in the state of Florida. And so all these deer that you're seeing right here are a result of Texas breeding, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
And the reason for the Texas breeding, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we've got insects flying around us right now. I mean, Florida is full of insects. And deer, I mean, the deer are living with them 24/7. And so what you told me earlier, that y'all had 2 frosts last winter.
2 frosts, and lower in the ditch, but yeah, we had 2 frosts.
And so it didn't get rid of any insects.
We have insect burden year round here.
And so there are people that wound up, I mean, these deer are full, I mean, they're southern genetics, whereas there are people that did actually bring in northern genetics down here before the borders closed, and they are actually having a lot of issues trying to keep them alive. I mean, and some of them are living, but they're really having a hard time. These deer are smaller bodied deer, and they have shorter hair. I mean, take a look at them. And I mean, you've got some really pretty deer. Now, okay, I'm looking at this one right here. Was it yellow 27?
Yellow 27. Good deer.
That's a yearling too?
That's a yearling too.
Really?
Yep.
Now, are they related?
No, actually they're not. They are not. They may have the same father, but they're not related on the doe side.
Right. And as far as if somebody was to ask you, rate, is the doe more important in the breeding or the buck more important? Explain to them what your opinion is and why.
My opinion is you're going to get your production out of the does, and you can add that male semen and get the look that you want, but the production, you've got to have a good doe.
And when people want to start in the deer farming business, for the most part, I mean, they haven't done enough research. And what I mean by that is even guys that have spent 1 year, 2 or 3 studying, they haven't done enough research, because as deer farmers ourselves, we're learning something all the time.
That's right.
And so, but deer farmers, we need to go to other deer farmers to be able to help us be able to determine what is wrong with deer, what is right with deer, what we can expect, and breeding wise. And so as far as what you've got here with your system, I mean, you've got a team set up of different people around the state that you have mentored them and continue to mentor them in order to help their businesses prosper.
That's correct. We call it Team HX, and we don't just sell a deer and forget about the deer. We kind of become friends with those people. We help mentor them. We help them, like you said, mentor them through this business. We stay in contact with them. We check up on the deer. We help them with medications, any issues they got. You know, in this day and age, you can send a picture, emails. I mean, you can do video conferences and everything else. We help them through this whole thing. We want them to be successful in their business, and it is a business, you know.
It is a business, and that's one thing that last year we came over here and we featured your farm. And that's one thing that you said that not one other deer farmer has said in all the years that we've been doing this show. Folks, this is a business, and it is a lucrative business, but you have to run it like a business. And I said something earlier, it's like, you know, there are farmers, and then there are farmers that go on cruises and on airplanes and everything else.
That's right.
Well, why is that? The reason why that is because those guys that really make some money run it like a business. And Mike has been in the business a long time, and so he is helping more people. He's schooling people on how to run a deer business. And speaking of that, I'm looking at this other yellow tag buck over here. He's a yearling too?
That's a yearling also. All the yellow tags are yearlings.
Okay, now I know that which of these deer You've got one that is out of a deer in Texas, a great big typical deer called Big Stitch.
Big Stitch.
Which one is out of him?
That's our yellow 24. That's yellow 24 right over there.
Okay, so no wonder I picked him. I mean, I look at this, and your goal and I have the same. You have the same kind of idea as me as far as typical deer goes.
Absolutely. I'm trying to stay disciplined. We're breeding everything typical. We're going for width. It takes a while, it takes some discipline.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn how to breed your does. You watch what's born. It takes a while. And when the new person starts looking at the business and they ask me, how do I go pick out does? I tell them, go look at that doe's brothers and sons. That's what she's gonna produce. She will produce those type of deer. Then you can add width, you can add typical, you can add the other, non-typical, whatever you wanna add to her, she'll produce for you.
Okay, were all these deer born on this farm?
All the deer were born on this farm. I don't have any bucks, one or two does that are still from Texas, but everything's basically born on the farm at this point.
Today's show is brought to you in part by BuyMyDeer.com, your online source for monster whitetails. Today's program is brought to you by the Texas Deer Association. You want to help me answer this? All right, good. All right, Tim from Louisiana says, I heard you were going to give someone a deer farm for free. What's the catch? Tim, right, there's no catch. All right, thanks to our sponsors that we have here on the TV show and lots of deer farming friends around the country. What we're doing is setting somebody up as a deer farmer for absolutely free. All you need to do is go to my website called winadeerfarm.com. Come on, darling, and register. Some lucky person is going to get set up in a deer farm, and it's absolutely free. So Tim from Louisiana, there's no catch. Hey, baby, you're a knucklehead. You're a knucklehead. A friend of mine is here, and her name is Lori Cook. She's a Dr. Lori Cook. She's a veterinarian, and she and her family didn't have deer until a few years ago, and now all of a sudden she was working with the animals and getting to know Mike, and all of a sudden Lori and her family, well, they're deer farmers.
Hi, my name is Dr. Lori Cook. I'm a veterinarian and a deer farmer. We have our farm named BDRL, Whitetail Paradise Farm in Okeechobee, Florida. I've been working with Mike Mansfield here at High Xpectations as his veterinarian. We benefit each other, and it's been a learning experience for both of us since I came on board in this industry 4.5 years ago. We didn't have very many diagnostics being performed on these animals. And I came on board and I would see something going wrong and we said, let's do it, let's do some tests. So we have actually had a wonderful working relationship. He's taught me a lot of things. I think I've taught him a lot of things. And we've learned and grown in this industry, just learning about the medicine and everything that we need to learn about.
I know one of the intimidating things when I became a deer farmer is, and I'm still kind of intimidated to be honest with you, is doing veterinary work on an animal, taking care of
Keeping them healthy.
And that's our job. I mean, animal husbandry, we've got to really practice it all the time. And that's one thing that when somebody's dealing with you, I know that you will help advise them on what's wrong with an animal. And I know that you have a little fawn right now that's kind of showing some signs that's not doing right. So
we did notice that. We did notice that earlier. We're going to try to get a dart put in her. We'll get her some medicine here in just a little bit.
Okay. All right, that should fix that little guy right up. That little doe was walking around like it was walking on eggshells, and you could just tell it was off. Part of the responsibility of a deer farmer is to practice really good animal husbandry and catch your animals when they're off and catch them in a hurry. What we wound up doing, Mike hit it with a shot of dexamethasone. That's a steroid, so it'll start feeling pretty good pretty quick. So tomorrow morning we'll come out and check on it, and I'm sure she'll be just fine.
I'm Mike Viscano with the River Swamp Whitetails out of St. Augustine, Florida. Networking with Mike and a group that we have has been very successful. We all benefit from it, and I've enjoyed the relationship with him. Been raising deer about 12, 14 years. Had some challenges with the genetics I was using. Got some deer from Mike Mansfield at High Xpectations and have been very successful with them. Bought a buck from Mike, crossed him on some does I had. It worked really well for me. Came back, bought some does from him, and I've been really satisfied with the results and what they've produced. If you're interested in deer farming, I really encourage you to do farm visits, talk to people that are in the industry, give Mike a call. He can point you in the direction of somebody that's near you. There's people all over the state, be glad to help you. If you're interested in the industry, give Mike Mansfield a call. He'll certainly point you in the right direction.
Deer farming is a business. It's a lifestyle as well as being a hobby, and it's a job, but it's all the above, and it's a passion we have for these animals. In my situation, being a veterinarian, I also additionally provide services to whitetail deer farms in the state, medical, surgical, and consulting. But it's something you passion, and as a deer farmer and a veterinarian, I'm just having the best time of my life right now. I love the industry, and I love talking deer.
Now it's time for the Beam Fence Minute.
As a fence contractor, one of the first questions people ask me is how much is it going to cost to build a fence? Well, building a fence is like buying a pickup truck. There's a lot of variables involved. The factor in determining the cost of building a fence is what do you have to do to clear the fence line. If you've got to go through a lot of hardwood, remove a lot of trees, do a lot of excavating, this is definitely going to add to the cost of your fence. If you're going through open fields and meadows, it's not going to be nearly as expensive to prepare your fence line as it would be if you're going through hardwoods and swamps. Another issue to determine the cost of your fence is state regulations. Each state has their own regulations. Michigan, for instance, require a 10-foot high fence, which is going to add considerably to the cost of your fence. I'm Mark Beam from Beam Fence Company. For more information about our company and building fence, visit us at beamfence.com.
Deer farmers are great people. And the group of people getting together are all going back. I mean, if you think about this, they all go back to Mike Mansfield and High Xpectations. And they all called Mike to get involved in the deer industry. And now Mike has taken them on. He's really a mentor for them in the deer farming community. And here in Florida, anybody that's interested in deer farming, if you start talking to people, they're going to know Mike Mansfield.
I'm Chad Easley, KC Whitetails, located in Mims, Florida. We're really happy that we got into deer farming with Mike Mansfield. He's very passionate about this industry, and we've all been able to work very well as a team. We got into the business in 2013. We bought our deer from Mike Mansfield, High Xpectations, and it's far exceeded our expectations. A lot of people have the mindset that you need a large piece of land to incorporate any type of farming, but deer farming is an excellent alternative for small pieces of property. You can really maximize the use of a small piece of land with farming deer.
I'm Jim Pope with Dream Dancer Whitetails, located in Caryville, Florida. I'm a relatively new deer farmer, and I'm getting into the business because of a show I watched with Mike Mansfield, and he was discussing, about it. It's a business. You need to treat it like one, and it's a venture that I've been wanting to get into because I love deer. Since my initial contact with Mike Mansfield, coming to visit his farm, he's given me a lot of information that I couldn't get anywhere else. And educated me about the pedigrees and what he had here on his farm, and I made the decision to purchase deer from him and get my farm up and going the right way. The event today at Mike's farm is really helpful. You get to meet new people in the deer industry. You're able to network with different people, exchange information about their farm. They ask about my farm, and we get to know each other's deer. And it really helps to be able to pick up a phone if you have a question and get it answered at any time. Every time I've called Mike Mansfield, he's answered right away and been willing to spend as much time with me as he needs.
Well, I can tell you do have an interesting concept with having team members, and I wish that they would have had that available when I started becoming a deer farmer, because a lot of stuff, and most people out there that are deer farmers have to admit, you learn by trial and error, and it's something, the older you get, the more you realize, learn from somebody else's mistakes.
Right. That's right.
So, and yes, guess what? Mike has made a bunch, and I've made a bunch.
We've all made them.
Yeah, and so learn from somebody else's mistakes. But if you want more information about Mike Mansfield and High Xpectation Whitetails, what should they do?
Please give me a call. Feel free. It's my passion. I love to talk about the whitetail deer, health, good, bad, or otherwise. Give me a call at 239-851-6864. Again, that's 239-851-6864.
Like I said earlier, I am really proud of Mike for doing all he's done to help out the deer farming community in Florida. It was great to see some old friends and also meet some new friends that all have the passion for the whitetail deer. If you'd like more information on deer farming in Florida, contact my friend Mike Mansfield. If you have any questions or comments about today's show, go ahead and get a hold of me by shooting me an email or post a message on Facebook. I'm Keith Warren, and thanks for watching Deer and Wildlife Stories. What you're about to see is graphic in nature, so viewer discretion is advised. Last August, many of Texas's deer farmers were forced to kill hundreds of perfectly healthy deer in order to test them for chronic wasting disease. To date, approximately 600 deer have been killed, and the killing isn't over. What's worse is that out of all the deer that were killed, not a single one of them tested positive for chronic wasting disease. I don't know about you, but to me there's just something wrong with the picture when you start killing perfectly healthy deer to test them to make sure they're not sick with chronic wasting disease. Now, CWD has been around for over 50 years, and I'm a believer that CWD, it needs to be managed from science-based management rather than from a political agenda. And I think that we ought to learn from states that have been battling CWD for more than 50 years, and they themselves say that there's nothing they can do to manage it. What they need to do is just monitor it. So again, I think that we ought to base our CWD stuff all on science and not on a political agenda. If you'd like to find out more about chronic wasting disease, let me encourage you to go to the website cwdmyths.com.